Hi and welcome, and thanks for hanging out with me. I'm Elaine Marolakos Edelson, intuitive channel and astrologer, and author of Minutes to Manifesting: How to See It, Get It, Keep It. I am really excited to be doing another Google Hangout. We've got a fantastic training today that I know everyone will be able to use and relate to because we're making decisions every minute of the day. This is 5 simple steps to making tough decisions with crystal clarity and confidence. Who doesn't need that, right? We're going to cover a lot of ground in the next 20 minutes or so. So you might want to grab a pen and some paper to take some notes. And before we begin, I've got my pen, my glasses, and all my drinks ready to go. I want a little housekeeping before we begin. I want to let you know exactly how this training is going to work. And anytime during the Hangout, if you have any questions or comments, please post them right below this video. And at the end of the training, I'm going to do my best to answer everything live. But if I don't dismay. If I don't get to some questions, I'll answer them as best as I can within the next 12 hours or so. I will always be checking back. So please do post them. Again, when you post your comments below, it's really important because it helps me to shape future Google Hangouts. So let me know how it sounds, what you need, and what we could use to make this even better. All right, let's get started on the 5 simple steps to making tough decisions with crystal clarity and confidence. Now, the reason I chose this particular topic is because so many of my astrology clients come to me with issues surrounding decision-making with work and relationship, intimacy with their partners, with their kids. You know, life, we're faced with decisions and making really great decisions every single day. We're bombarded. You know, it's not like it used to be a long time ago. I'm honoring Downton Abbey today with my antique glass. And, you know, during this time frame, you didn't have to make a whole lot of decisions. But today it's different. You know, moms and dads are doing everything. They're juggling everything. So I know that this system that I created is going to help you eliminate doubt and hesitation and all that stress that accumulates when it comes to making tough choices. Sometimes, you know, you get stuck in your head and you can't. People think, oh, by the way, people think that decisions come from their head, and they really don't. That's part of it. You know, you need to have a body, mind, spirit connection. And that's what this system and training today is going to help you to develop. So here are the 5 steps. I want to get started right away, and because I'm respectful of everyone's busy schedule. Number 1, awareness. Now, what is awareness? Awareness is basically just being present, and you get really mindful about what's going on the inside. When you get quiet, you can listen. You can hear your thoughts and how sometimes you're screaming. You know, I told my daughter the other day I was chanting in the car. I don't usually chant in the car. I usually do. It's a private practice, but I had been through something very frustrating and I could not make a decision. So I put on a particular chant and I said, honey, this is just going to help me get the scream out of my head. She said, Mom, I totally understand. It's okay. I only listened to it for 2 minutes, and then there I was back to the present. So that's what awareness is. It's being very mindful of where you are in this moment. And so meditation is a great tool to use to do that, to help raise your level of intuition. Remember, folks, this is not just about Astrology Channel ETC is more than just astrology. It's about developing, using the stars and the planets and the heavens in conjunction with who you are so that you can develop your intuition. And when you raise your level of awareness, this is all the foundation and the basis for intuitive learning so that you can get in touch with your feelings and emotions. And that's very key because they are usually what trip us up when we're trying to make a healthy decision. So awareness is the first step. And that helps to create the relationship between your body, mind, and spirit. All right, that's step 1. Now, step number 2 is willingness. Okay. So let's say you're aware that you're stressed out. Now you have to actually give yourself permission to do something about it, right? Because without your permission, nothing is going to change. So willingness is a very key step in the emotional process of this particular system in understanding how to develop your intuition, so that what's the whole goal is to make really great decisions, especially in times of stress. So you want to pay attention to your resistance. And I remember a client who came to me last year, I think it was last year, and she's a very creative person, and she said, you know, I really want to do this thing, and I'm not going to say because she's got her thing out in the world, it's kind of public. So, and I keep that private for my clients. But anyway, she wanted to do this thing, and I said, okay, well, this TV show may not happen. I was that blunt with her, and she said, well, what do you mean? I've got people, I've got you know, I have people, I have money, I have things. And I said, great, it's wonderful to have people and money and things, but you're really kind of resistant to making this television show that you want to create because you don't want to do it, do you? And she said, well, you know, that's the next progression. You know, I wrote a book and I've got a bestseller and blah, blah, blah. And I said, yeah, but do you really want this television show? And, you know, after about an hour of counseling, we got to the core of it. And she said, you know what? No, I want to ranch with horses. I really don't want this television show. And needless to say, it's not happening right now because she realized that in order to do something and to make a really great decision, yeah, it's good to have advice from other people. It's good to be willing to listen to other people. That's part of a willingness. But ultimately, it's about giving yourself permission to be authentic with your choices. And for this woman, having this show was not something she wanted. It was part of the progression of who she was and how she was seen in the public. And so she's much happier now writing bestsellers. And there you go. But when it comes to making your own decision, if you don't have willingness to get into your resistance and those feelings that stop you from getting clear on what you really want, without that willingness to actually do the thing, you know, you could have fear around maybe a new job or starting a business. You can have fear around learning how to ride a horse or learning how to play an instrument. And you might say, I want to do this, I want to do this. But deep down, you really don't want to, you know, then it's not going to happen. It's not ever going to happen. So it's really important that you check in with this phase, okay? It's very key. Now, if you're just joining the Hangout, welcome. I'm glad you're here. We're talking about the 5 simple steps to making really tough decisions. And very quickly, for the people who are already on the call, I don't want to go over this too much, but if you're just joining, the first step is awareness, to understand where you are with how you feel and what you think in the moment. And the more you develop this, the more you're creating a connection, a body-mind-spirit connection, which helps you to create the pathway toward fabulous decision-making. And step 2 is willingness. And if you give yourself permission to actually make a change or to do something you haven't done before, to get over the fear, if you're willing to do this thing, then on an emotional level, you're ready to go to the next step. And so step number 3 now is commitment. This is the action part of the program, where the first 2 are more spiritual and emotional. The commitment phase of the program has so much to do with taking action. This is the difference between wishing that it were happening and actually watching it in action. So the physical phase means you need to make a contract with yourself. It's just that simple. You can be scared to do something, as I said, if you're starting a business, or maybe you're not sure about a relationship in your life, and you became aware, you started working on these steps, and you became aware that, you know, you really do like this person, you have a lot in common, but you're not willing to go so deep so fast, and because you've been burned before, let's just say. So now you want to make a commitment. Are you going to repeat the past? Are you going to make different choices in the future with a new relationship? So these are the kinds of things you're asking yourself when you're doing something new. So the commitment part of this program has so much to do with you, and I'm going to put my glasses on now, so not only to keep the hair out of my eyes, but so I can actually see what I'm talking about in my mind and on my notes. When you have a commitment to taking action, you actually start to take action. It's that simple. So let's say you want to become a real estate investor, and you've taken all the training programs and you've done everything, you know, that was on paper that you were told to do, and that's exciting, and you're really happy, and Now you have to actually go out and call a brokerage, or a mortgage broker, or you have to get in touch with a bank, or you need to actually go visit the people in your area so that you can make yourself known. So that's the action part of the program, and it may be nerve-wracking, of course, and your heart can race and all that. But when you make these steps a little at a time, and you realize what is the worst that can happen, especially with the action phase. This is where a lot of people get tripped up. Once they have willingness and they're ready to go forward, yeah, I'm really excited. Now what's going to happen? Now what? I have to actually make that phone call. I have to have that meeting. I don't know if I want to do that. It's kind of nerve-wracking. I'm not sure what to do next. As long as you are present, come back to the first step. As long as you are aware of how you're feeling, you can talk to yourself and say, look, self, I know you're freaked out right now. You're going to have an interview with someone. You've been hoping for this, for a long time, and now here it is. You took action. You made the phone call. Now you have the interview, and now you're ready to present yourself to the world, so to speak. So that's okay. Talking to yourself helps to create presence of mind, mindfulness. Remember, that's the first step, is awareness. And then the second step, with willingness, and here you are, commitment. You're actually doing it. The commitment phase is your personal contract with yourself that you are going to achieve something. And now the fourth step. This part is a little trickier. And the fourth step is honesty. Now, sometimes people will say to me, as I've used this system with my clients, and I remember saying to one client, all right, we need to be really honest, and I'll just give him a bogus name, Jimmy. We need to be really honest about the way you have relationships with people. You're a sweet guy, but you give everything day one. Let's be honest about boundaries. Do you have any? Yeah, I've got boundaries. Yeah, you know what? No, you don't. Here's why. And we go through the conversation, and he admits to himself, and I said, it's not important that you admit to me, but you need to admit to yourself. And this is what honesty is about. You have to be really objective about your behavior in any situation and own it. If you've been rude, if you've been impatient, if you've been so loving and giving and caring, all the verbs, and yet you have no boundaries, realize that you are the magnet for everything in your life, that you are the common denominator. So if you don't like what's happening in your world, you need to alter the behavior, and that's what these steps are helping you to do on a daily basis. So when you're really honest about what you've been doing, what you've been thinking, how you're acting or not acting, then you come to a place of saying, all right, I'm really aware of my why. You've heard this before if you're in business. What's your why? What's your big objective? What is your motivation? And you need to be honest about your why. Now, for some people, they'll say, my husband and I went whitewater rafting many years ago here in Sedona, Arizona. And talk about your why. We met a young guy. We were in the pontoon, and I had never been on a river before with rapids, let alone with rapids. And I'm looking for a place to hold on. Dean's in the front of the pontoon with no shirt on. His arms are in the air. He's like screaming, yeah, he's waiting for the waves to hit him. And I'm sitting next to a young guy who is about to enter college. And so I'm talking with him, trying to get calm because I'm nervous about what's up ahead. These like big white waves and these caps, and I'm thinking I'm going to go overboard, and that's the last you'll hear of me. But anyway, so I'm talking to this young guy about going to college, and I said, "Oh, what are you going to study?" And he said, "I'm going to become a gynecologist." And it was so adamant and flat out there, and I was like, oh, "Really? Yeah, how old are you? 22? 18? How do you know this?" And he said, well, my father is a doctor, all my uncles are doctors, my grandfather was a doctor, and I'm going to become a gynecologist. And I said, wow. I said, is that something you love? That's a very specific and unusual field for an 18-year-old boy to want to go. And I said, so why are you doing this? He goes, for the money. Period. That was it. For the money. Okay, he knows his why. Maybe he advanced, and this is like 25 years ago or something. Maybe he advanced. Maybe he's really happy. But to know your why and to be that definite about it means you'll then start to pull together energetically, this is the intuitive part of the program, once you're honest about your why, you start to pull together resources that you couldn't before because you weren't clear. See, the why helps with clarity, and honesty helps with all of it. So be really honest about how you're feeling and what you're thinking in any situation as you're moving toward a goal, and you're going to feel really authentic. You're going to feel like you're taking action in great ways. Okay, the fifth and the last step to making great decisions is patience. I know, patience, that's like the kicker, right? It's like, oh, really? Patience? Come on. I'm here, I'm working it, I'm going. Now I have to wait. You know, people are looking at their watches. How long do I have to wait to get the love of my life? Like, well, the person is not going to just drop out of the sky. You have to work toward it energy-wise. And these steps are going to help you do that. To define patience, I would say keep checking in with yourself. And we're all going to get frustrated. I have temper tantrums, you know, at least once a week over something that's not working. And then I call them solar flares because I'm a Leo moon. So I have these solar flares, and I go, ah! And then I calm down, and I say, okay, you know, I think I need to be a little bit more aware of time. That not everything happens the moment I want it to happen. You know, there's something googly happening here on my Google Hangout page, so I'm just going to focus on that. And just for a second, because I don't know what that is. Okay, there it is. I don't know what that was. Something was blinking. One immutable fact about Earth, life on Earth, now takes time. Am I seeing things clearly? Yes, now takes time. That is such a contradiction, isn't it? Now takes time. We want what we want, and we want it now because, you know, we went to school or we took the training class, and, you know, and I practiced it and I did this, you know, and it worked once 5 years ago, but how come it's not happening? So we need to stay on track, and that's what this system is going to help you do. To stay on track, because to realize that when you're manifesting, and remember, this is not just about you achieving a goal, it's about you developing your awareness, your willingness, your consciousness, and your goal setting, your intention. And we work with the physical laws of the universe. If you could, my daughter and I are so into the show Heroes. I know it was popular back in 2006, but we've just discovered it, and now we're watching, you know, 2 to 3 episodes a day. And there's so many superhero, what do you call them? Superhero talents, or, you know, it's like, what's your power? Superhero powers. You know, what is your power? Well, mine is not being able to snap my fingers and have it appear. I'm just not that well versed. I can make things happen a lot quicker than I used to. But when I get tripped up with impatience, that's when I know I stop my progress. I stop the manifesting. I stop everything, because impatience creates a tension, and it's palpable, and it's, you know, your heart races, and it takes you right out of awareness. It takes you out of willingness. It takes you out of commitment, and it puts you into hyperdrive, where you're trying to force things. You've heard of things like don't push the river. Well, that's what this is about. Now takes time. So I want you to take the time when you're doing these exercises and putting them into practice every day. You know, this whole process creates clarity, which opens the door to intuition and trusting your feelings, and most importantly, your inner voice. Yes, the planets, you know, and I said this before in my last Hangout, and I say this on my website to all my clients on my Astrology channel ETC membership, that the planets don't make you do anything. We live in a cooperation with our cosmos. So when the planets make a move, you feel it. When you make a move, the planets will reflect that in the cosmos. This is our collaboration with the cosmos. So when you practice this particular system, this 5-step system on transformation, you can get so adept at tuning in when you have to make a quick decision. And it can be, you know, which computer do I buy? I'm at Staples. Which one do I buy? Or is it which relationship do I really commit to, or which job interview do I go to, no matter what the question is. And remember, if you have questions or comments, please leave them below, and I will get to them. But creating intuition helps to clear your internal inner voice, and that is the direct line to the cosmos. No matter what's happening planetarily, eventually you'll be so in tune. Like, I know when the moon turns void. Void, of course, moon is an actual astronomical event. And when the moon turns void, I know. I feel a little dizzy. I suddenly get really spacey. I stop and say, okay, what just happened? Something just happened. And I'll check my charts and my calendar. I've got my astro calendar. By the way, Astrologer's date book, Jim Maynard's calendar, comes out every November. It's fantastic. I check that and I'll go, oh, you know what? The moon just went void, because part of me is tuned in to that part, because I've trained it to be with this system. So let's review what we just covered. The 5 easy steps to helping you make tough decisions. Number 1, I hope you've been writing this down. 1 is awareness. 2, willingness. 2, once you're aware, then you're willing. Now it's commitment. It's the action part of the program. Then it's honesty is number 4. And the 5th one is patience. I know that seemed like a lot. I talk really fast, and my husband and my clients sometimes will say, wow, that was a whirlwind. Okay. I'm a whirligig sometimes. Now, in just a sec, I want to get to your questions, so please write them down below. And remember, if you have a comment, that does help me to shape future Google Hangouts, so please leave them. Now, I know we covered a lot of information in a short amount of time, and believe me, it can be overwhelming. I do know that. So my husband will tell me, as I started to say before, slow down, take your time. It's like, yeah, but I got so much to say. It's like, my crown opens, the information comes through, blah. Here, go do it, then we can all go. We can all fly away. I think when my daughter and I were discussing what our favorite superpowers were from the show Heroes, we came down to being able to fly, number 1, yeah. Being able to morph. There's the one girl who can look at anything and then within seconds mimic the behavior. And she's doing drop kicks and taking care of stuff, and it's pretty amazing. Okay. If you like what you heard today about making decisions, there's a really fantastic resource that I have for you, and it's called my Astrology channel ETC Platinum membership. In there, well, there's so much that's in the membership, actually. In the Platinum membership, you can access dynamic decisions videos. It's exactly what we're talking about. These are videos that I upload every month that give you 1 tip of something to do, to put into practice, so that you can eventually become really adept at making snap decisions. And not from some erratic emotional place, but from a really centered space, and that's the whole point. And, a lot of my clients will ask me, Elaine, how can I stay on top of it? What's the best way to tune in? I want to know what to expect so I can take full advantage of what's going on in the heavens astrologically. And I want to know also what's going on deep inside of me. How do I do this so that I can know what really matters and stay on course? Well, these are really great questions, and I'm sure you're asking them of yourself on a daily basis if you're on a call like this. So to help you get what you want, to really go deep, I want to introduce you to something I know is going to make a really huge, tremendous impact and a difference in your life. So I see some of the questions are starting to come in, and I'm going to get those in just a second. But first I want you to think about the relationships in your life, because on this earth we are really immersed in relationships to our lovers, our friends, our family, partners at work, but most importantly, the relationship that you have to yourself, really, because that self-relationship that directs everything in your own microcosm and in your world. And I cover all these relationships every month and how they relate to your sign and your astrological sign and your rising sign. And that's all part of my exclusive Astrology channel, ETC Platinum membership. And this membership gives you cutting-edge stuff in astrological and intuitive forecasts that I do every month. So it's spot on content, it's life-changing, and I do it in a very conversational way, just like these Hangouts. So I want you to know it's not laden with a lot of angles and calculations. It's like I put all that stuff aside. When I record my Astro Blasts, that's what I like to call them, the monthly forecasts, you get what's coming right through me. And it's helping you to become aware of what's in store for your sign so that you're super prepared for any situation to make those really great decisions. Now, I do have to say, there's a little sidebar disclaimer that my forecasts are not the typical kind of party type astrology blurbs, which are fun and that are out there in magazines and stuff, but I like to go really deep. Sometimes they can be a little shocking, to people who are just thinking, oh, this is going to be light and fun and happy, and they are, but I really like to go deep because I don't want to censor the information, and it wouldn't be fair to you. Let's get in there. Let's be happy. Let's make really great decisions, and I know you can do that. So my forecasts that I record every month, and that I write too, because on my site there's also written forecasts, but they're for folks like you who take your life and your purpose really seriously so that you can avoid, the roadblocks and pitfalls and the dead ends. Oh, just, let's get past the dead ends. Let's walk through walls like some of our superheroes and take advantage of, hidden opportunity that come astrologically, and then when you tie that in with your intuition, that's a winning combination. And that's really what trips us up a lot, is that we don't see what's coming. We don't know how to anticipate because our intuition isn't honed. And that's what I want you to do, is hone your intuition. So also with Platinum membership, you get, which my members love, is the Cosmic Clues Hangout. You get to hang out with me live, and if you're lucky, one of the happy members on the call, you get put in the hot seat and I answer your questions. So what else do you get? You also get, special updates on retrogrades. Mercury is not the only planet that goes retrograde, and also eclipses and how they really do affect us. So with the Platinum Access, there's fabulous focus videos that help you get laser focused, and I upload those once a month as well. There's a lot of good stuff. Dynamic Decisions videos, which is what we're talking about here. There's also, in the Dynamic Decisions videos, there are tips and exercises for you to do, and they're not very long, so I understand that there's these videos are made for people on the go. A lot of my clients are entrepreneurs and the members to the site. So let's end the indecision once and for all and make some crystal clear decisions. A little dry out here in Arizona. And there's so much more to become a member. So to get started, click the green button that says membership to become a member right now. Okay, so let's get to some questions. And I also was told that it takes about 30 seconds of a delay in the Google Hangouts. So bear with me, because sometimes you might be asking a question, but it hasn't come up in the chat, in the group chat yet, so I don't see it. So if you've got a question, please type it in. I'm right here to help you. Oh, okay. Here's a great question. What's the best way to hone my intuition to make better decisions? I have a tendency to doubt myself a lot. Well, we all doubt, right? That's just the nature of being who we are. So I have a fun little acronym for the word hone. To hone your intuition. I want you to write this down. So grab a pen. So this is for everybody, not just, thank you for writing the question, but this is for everybody. Have one notion envisioned. That's how you hone your intuition. When you're focused on doing anything, as I said earlier, from trying to make a business decision, looking at what kind of relationship that you want to get into, or anything dealing with anything that's important to you, you want to have one notion envisioned. And when you do that, you start to develop a very keen sense of intuition on what works. And how do you know this? Well, with anything, we'll call it trial and error when you really begin down the intuitive path. It is trial and error. You'll be validated. When I have a client who lost her purse, and she was with her son, who I think he was 17 at the time, and he was really into meditating, and and so was she. And as a client of mine, she would put a lot of my stuff into practice. And so one day she called me up and she said, "Oh my gosh, last week my son and I were out, we were shopping for something, and I came home and I realized I couldn't find my wallet. I couldn't find my purse. It wasn't anywhere." So we called the store. We were frantic because of my money, my credit cards, etc. So her son said to her, "Mom, remember what Elaine said, to hone it. So just get really quiet." And she did. Her son is teaching her this. So she got really quiet. She took a deep breath and she relaxed. And then all of a sudden, she got a feeling to call a particular store that she didn't actually go in, but that she was admiring something outside. They had tables for sale outside. And sure enough, she had left her purse on, one of those racks when people are selling stuff outside their stores for like half price or whatever. She had left her purse to pick up something and try it on, and she found it. And her son said, "Oh my gosh, Mom, that was amazing. You need to do more of that." So, here's another question. Were those 5 steps you listed in the order of importance, or are they all equally important? Wow, what a great question. Okay, so they are in the order of importance. All those things individually will really help you to hone it and to help you to get really in tune with your body, mind, spirit connection so that you can make those decisions. But it's important to have awareness first of what's going on. You can't commit to something if you're not aware of what's going on. So having awareness is important. Tuning in, meditating or chanting, getting quiet, taking pauses throughout the day. Number 2, willingness. Again, without giving yourself permission, you're resistant to making a change, and it's not going to happen ever, 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 ever. And the 3rd is commitment, taking physical action, making phone calls, writing letters, proceeding physically with whatever is the next step in your business. And then 4th, having the honesty to really see, well, how am I doing? Let me check in with my progress. What am I doing? I tried this. I got to be honest, that's not working. Or you want to form a partnership with someone, and deep down, and you've said to them, "Look, I want to be honest with you and say that you're kind of intense and you tend to, control things. I want to make sure it's a 50-50 partnership." This actually happened to one of my members, and I suggested that they sit down, not just quarterly, but once a month, and have this very sensitive person check in with, this order. And sure enough, my client said to their business partner, "Look, when we first started, we had this commitment that we would work together, and now you're giving me too many directives, too many orders, and I've got so much responsibility, and I can't breathe, and I have to be really honest, this is not working for me. So we have to change it up if we're going to stay together, or we just have to call it quits and shake hands and say goodbye." And then the 5th step, of course, is patience, right? Now takes time. We have to wait for things to physically manifest. So that is really, that's a really great question. I've got another question. "I freak out when faced with a really important decision. What do you suggest I do to stop that? And how do I know I'm making the right decision?" Well, if you're freaking out when you're making a really important decision, you want to stop and ask yourself, number 1, is this a do or die situation? Is every decision that you're making a do or die? Because if it's like, having to save a child from running in front of a bus, that's not really a decision-making process. That's a reflex. So, but if it's like saying, "Oh, should I pay this bill now or all of it later, or how do I, disperse the funds?" I want you to get calm and get aware of your freak out. Get aware of the freak out. What's really going on? Is it because no one's ever trusted you to make a decision? Is it because you have made decisions before and have failed miserably? Join the human race. Is it because you don't trust your own decisions because you've never thought enough about yourself and you've always deferred to other people? So I want you to examine what the freak out is about. And if you think that it's not working for you to make your own decisions, you're going to make tiny little decisions. And this applies to everyone, so thank you for this question, but it applies to everyone. If you're making tiny decisions like, what would I like for lunch today? And you can't decide, I want you to close your eyes and follow the steps. Tune in to your awareness And then what does your awareness say? You know, I really would like cheese or tuna fish or, you know, take out Chinese or something. You know, so get tuned into what you're really feeling so that the freak out doesn't overwhelm your process. What do you suggest I do to stop that? Well, those are the suggestions, and plus pause often. And then how do I know I'm making the right decision? Well, what is a wrong decision for you? You have to understand your own terminology and what's going on in your dictionary. You know, my father, I love my dad. He's passed on 8 years now. But after doing something on his own, he would always end up with this statement, damn it, I made the wrong decision. He said that all my life. And one day I looked at him and I said, Dad, what does the right decision look like? And he said, well, it would work out differently. So he never trusted because he was never given the trust. Growing up, he was never given responsibility where people trusted his decisions. So that when he finally started to make his own, he never felt sure of himself. So we're all there, right? We're all on the same planet. So I think a really good way to trust your inner voice, and I'm looking at there's more. How do I know? This is great. Love what you're saying, Elaine. This really helps. How do we trust our inner voice more? Should we always trust it? Okay. Well, let me just finish up with this one. In knowing if you make the right decision, I want you to take the words right and wrong right out of your head and replace it with appropriate. Does this feel appropriate for me? That's what you want to ask yourself. Does this feel appropriate? And the more you do that, the more your body is going to have a say in the decision-making process. So I want to just clarify a little bit. You know, when we talk about awareness as the first step, awareness and then willingness, right, and then commitment. But awareness, you're tuning into your body, mind, and your spirit. So the body always has something to say. But if you're not paying attention to it, you're not in tune. You're going to make a half-assed decision, and there's no judgment on that. It's just we all do that. You know, we jump and say, oh, yeah, let's just do this. And then later on we read the contract and go, oh, dang, what did I do to myself? So how to trust your decision-making process is slowly make small ones. What you want to eat for lunch, what movie you feel like watching, and then validate yourself like, you know, here's the thing that you're always going to come up against. It's like, oh, I know I should have went the other way. I knew I should have. Well, if you knew you should have, what stopped you? That's the big question, isn't it? Well, with awareness, you're going to get closer to that answer. I hope that helps you. And, you know, your inner voice, let me just say something about the inner voice before we wrap this up. The inner voice is, it is the whole program. The physicality of you is the vehicle for you to be on this earth. Your inner voice is that part of you that is tied into every planet, every cosmic dust particle, every divine light, every black hole. You know, even in black holes there are particles of light. So your inner voice is what knows best. But yet your head will talk louder than that subtle voice, and it overrides. It's like deep down you say, yeah, I don't want to date this person. And then, but your head's going, oh, but I'm so lonely, and it'll be so fun. I get a free dinner, and you know, it's gonna be great. And then 3 weeks later, you're like, oh, I should have trusted myself. This is terrible. And now I got to break up with the guy. So you got to trust that inner voice. And doing this 5-step program, the system is going to help you. All right, I'm going to wrap this up. But before we do, thank you so much for being here, hanging out with me on the Google Hangout. And we're going to have more, many more of them. So please come back and look for them. And you can always listen to the replay. And remember, folks, to even go further with this, in a very simple, fun way, the membership program is where it's at. Click the green button below and get started because it's only going to be a continuation of what we're talking about right now. Thanks for joining me and for hanging out with me, and I wish you peace. Be sparkly. I'll see you again soon.